All right, so we're going to do day 3 of these notes on elimination. And just kind of as a reminder, this first day we had numbers that had the same value. For example, the 3's here, but they had opposite signs already. On day 2, we had numbers that were identical, but they did not have opposite signs. So our goal here was to multiply the top equation by a -1, which you can see in the green here, and we changed the sign. We're going to now flip to the back of that paper, which is the top here, and we're going to see what happens or how we're going to deal with a problem when we don't have the same values for x's or y's right off the bat. So that's what's happening in these problems here. And so I don't know if you guys can see that pop up on my screen, but just ignore that. So let's write a little statement here. We have this then and now. So now what we're going to do, I need a pen. So now we notice that neither our x or y variables, A, B, that was a typo. I need my undo button. Variables are the same number. So then what we're going to do is then we will multiply either the top or the bottom equation by a value, and you have to decide what that value is to make either the x's or the y's the same number, but with opposite signs. Because that always has to happen. Okay, so let's take a look here. And here's where this is the hard part for people. Look at the smaller value. So, and I'm going to highlight a couple things, but then I'm going to erase it. So if I look at this problem 5, okay, in my x's, the 2 is smaller, and I can make the 2 become a 4 by multiplying it by 2. Or, so I can make my x's the same. Or I can take my 4 and I can multiply it by a 3 and make it become a 12. So you can do either one of those things. Totally up to you. If I take a look at problem 6, I can take the 3 and multiply it by a 2 and make it equal a 6. Or I can make the 2 and multiply it by a 5 and make it become a 10. So that's your goal here, is to multiply an equation by a value to make the numbers the same, but the signs different. So I'll make a couple choices here, and you just kind of follow through and see how that goes for you. So this first one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply this first equation by a by a 3. And I'm going to multiply each of those by 3 and write it down below. So what I'm going to get is a negative 12x plus a 12y. And I did that so that my y's are now the same, but with opposite signs, so I didn't have to use a negative out here. And 3 times negative 8 is negative 24. Now I'm going to draw a line and add down. So I'll change my colors. I get negative 14x. These are going to cancel out. Equals 10 minus 24 is a negative 14. Now I'm going to divide both of those by negative 14. And x is going to equal a positive 1. And then you guys know that now I'm just going to substitute back in. So I'm going to take my top equation. Doesn't matter which one you use, right? I'm just taking my top one. And I'm going to put my x into my equation. So negative 4 times 1 plus 4y equals negative 8, negative 4. And I'm going to subtract off that negative. Do the opposite. Cancel those. And then I'm going to divide by. And my y is going to equal negative 1. And remember, we're always writing these as an ordered pair, 1, negative 1. And that's my answer. All right, let's do this one. Again, we're going to multiply by something to make it negative, or to make the numbers the same but the signs opposite. So this one, I'm actually going to get rid of my x's here. So I'm going to multiply by a negative 2 just to show you that that number can be negative. So I'm going to go negative 6x, and that's going to be plus a 4y. And 27 times 2 is a 54, and that 54 is going to be negative. All right, so now I'm going to add down, change my color here. So the 6x's will disappear, and I'll have a 14y. And 54 minus 12 is a 42, and that's going to be negative. And I'm going to divide that by 14. And 14 goes into 42 3 times. So my y is negative 3. Okay, so now I'm going to plug back into one of my equations. So I'm going to choose 3x minus 2y equals 27. We're going to let y equal negative 3. So I have 3x plus 6. Be careful when you have minus a negative, or minus 2 times a negative 3. I'm going to subtract off a negative 6. And divide by 3. And x is going to equal 7. And again, my ordered pair is going to be 7, negative 3. And that's all done. All right, so the big thing here is to multiply one of your equations by a value so that you get the same number in front of a variable, but with opposite signs. All right, so that's all for today's notes. Toodaloo for now.